going to film school. My good friend, Dr. Joe Fortunato, joins us live Friday mornings here on WAKR. Boy, we've got a movie that's going to hit home in the way the world is going today, even though this movie is 20-plus years of age. And, Joe, I'll let you take the story from there, my friend. Good morning.
Ray, good morning, everybody. And, yes, we do have something that, even though it is 20-plus years old, it's very prescient, especially its title alone. And I'm talking about Steven Spielberg's film AI, Artificial Intelligence. And, of course, AI has been in the zeitgeist now for a couple of years now, and it's increasingly becoming a concern of everybody. And here's a film that Steven Spielberg made in 2001, and he picked up the mantle from the master Stanley Kubrick. And, you know, I talked a couple of weeks ago about Superman 2 and some of the drama behind the scenes there. And this one doesn't have equal that amount of drama, but it has a bit of a circuitous route to get into our theaters. And that's because this was a film, first of all, it was released in June of 2001. This was a film that was originally conceived of and was going to be a film by Stanley Kubrick. And then towards the end of his life, he sort of passed the baton to Steven Spielberg. And we'll go into that a little bit. As I said, it was directed by Steven Spielberg, written by Spielberg, based on a short story called Super Toys Last All Summer Long by Brian Aldiss. This was Steven Spielberg's first writing credit since he wrote Poltergeist in 1982, so it's been a while. It stars Haley Joel Osment, Jude Law, Francis O'Connor, William Hurt, and the voices of Robin Williams and Meryl Streep. It was nominated for 2 Oscars, both music and visual effects. And if you're not familiar with the story, it's basically about a highly advanced robotic boy, an AI, if you will, who longs to become real so that he can regain the love of his human mother. It's almost a little bit of a Pinocchio story, if you want to go down that route. The movie actually takes place in the future, 2142, all the way into 4142. So it goes thousands of years into the future, sort of projecting what life might be like. As I said, Stanley Kubrick worked on this project for almost 2 decades before his death. And along the way, he asked Spielberg to direct it, saying, hey, this is closer to your sensibilities than mine. And the two collaborated for several years, resulting in Kubrick giving Spielberg a complete story treatment and lots of conceptual art for the movie prior to his death, which Spielberg used to write his own scenario. And, you know, contrary to popular belief, Spielberg claims that he introduced many of the darker elements into the story, and while Kubrick's main contribution consisted mostly of its sweeter parts. So that's sort of an ironic twist, because most would think of Kubrick being the darker filmmaker and Spielberg being the lighter filmmaker. And in fact, people have joked sort of that this is Spielberg's darkest movie or Kubrick's sweetest movie, depending on how you want to parse that statement out. Anyway, Kubrick and Spielberg originally approached studio executives with a script for AI, pitching it as Blade Runner meets Field of Dreams. So that's kind of a curious combination. In fact, Steven Spielberg passed on doing Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone and Jurassic Park 3 at the time to direct this film. So there's some interesting what might have been in terms of directors, not just casting, like we often talk about. Spielberg stated on Turner Classic Movies that he gave up directing that first Harry Potter movie in order to do this film. So kind of an interesting what might have been. The movie was originally titled just AI, but after a survey, it was revealed that too many people thought it was A1, as in A1 sauce, and the title was changed to include AI, Artificial Intelligence, to prevent people from thinking it was about the steak sauce, which is very funny because now, of course, AI is on all of our lips, but at the time, it was not at all. This is one of the first movies to use computer-animated previs, or that's short for pre-visual, meaning they would animate storyboards to sort of see what the shots were going to be. And this is one of the first movies to do that.
You know, Joe, when you look at, and you mentioned the casting, Haley Joel Osment and Jude Law, you go back 25 years ago, Haley Joel Osment was just coming on and becoming very successful kind of young actor, I'll put it that way. And Jude Law was really rolling. So to have those two in this film was also a big shot in the arm.
Yeah, it really was great casting. And Haley Joel Osment really contributed as an actor, even though he was a kid. In fact, to further his non-human appearance in the film, each day before filming, Haley Joel Osment's exposed skin, face, arms, hands, etc., was shaved to give him a more plastic look. There was also no shots of David, that's his character, of David blinking until the end when he is perceived to be a real boy. So he doesn't blink throughout the entire acting performance, which is really pretty crazy. There's a scene in the middle where they go to what they call the flesh fair, which is very dark, a very bad place where the AI trash heap is, if you will, where some of these figures and real-life amputees played some of the robots with missing limbs at the time. And the voice of Teddy, which is a teddy bear that befriends David, or that is sort of his sidekick throughout the film, has a similar voice, similar to that of the computer HAL 9000 in Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey. Very monotone, very singular computer-style voice, and that was his sidekick there. The great Stan Winston did some of the special effects for this, and Winston claimed this was the most ambitious movie on which he ever worked in his lifetime. I talked about some of the voice acting. Robin Williams recorded his dialogue for this movie with Stanley Kubrick directing the recording session, as he did a long time before Steven Spielberg was even attached. So, I want to underscore the fact that Kubrick did have very much a creative force in this film, even though it was Spielberg that took the film across the finish line, as it were.
Joe, let me ask you this. How successful was the film in the box office?
It did okay. It wasn't really a great success, but, it did okay. And it was, I kind of look at this as maybe one of Spielberg's more forgotten films. People are kind of listing off Spielberg films. This is one they might tend to forget a bit. And it's sort of, right there in the early 2000s, sort of in the middle of his career. And it's a pretty important film in his career. And it includes many of the trademarks of Spielberg and Stanley Kubrick. So there's like narration at the beginning, portrayal of dehumanization and the dark side of human nature. That's all Kubrick kind of stuff. There's tracking shots like Spielberg would use and things like that. So it really is sort of a collaborative effort. And if you watch the film and you know each of those filmmakers, you will see their imprint on both of them. In fact, you asked about the box office, and I said it was sort of forgotten, but initially Roger Ebert gave this film 3 stars out of 4. But 10 years later, he changed his vote to a perfect 4 stars, adding it to the list of great movies. And he admitted he was wrong about it the first time that he saw it. So I think more than just Roger Ebert, a lot of people sort of saw this movie in a new light years after it was released. Yeah,
in today's world, it might be a real good movie to go back and check out again. AI, Artificial Intelligence, from 2001, today's Film School with Dr. Joe Fortunato. Joe, what do you have coming up, my friend?
Oh, I'm very excited. We've been talking about this months ago, but we're now coming. It's really sneaking up on us fast. We've got a Fortunato Film School coming up August 1st at Gillies. We are going to be screening One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is one of my favorite films of all time. I think one of the best films of all time. And we don't do this one a whole lot, so this is your opportunity to come out and see this film with me, and I will do live commentary on the film like we do at Gillies, and it's a wonderful event. The tickets are now on sale, so you can go to my website, joefortunato.net, or you can go to Gillies' website in the calendar, and you can get your tickets now. Tickets are only $5, and if you end up buying brunch, they give you that money back. So in some ways, the movie is free. Come have a great brunch at Gillies, watch a great movie, learn a lot about the movie. And we want to see everybody out there. So make sure you get your tickets now before they sell out.
Yeah, it's going to be a good day. Joe, the times for this one?
This was brunch. The doors will open and brunch will start at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
And the film will start at 11:30 a.m. And that's Saturday, August 1st at Gillies downtown.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun for sure. And Joe for sure has put a lot of work into this Gillies, and I'm glad to have my little role in it as well. We always have a great time. And if you haven't seen, and I say this every time, if you haven't seen Joe do this on the road with his film school, it's a must. I know we do have a lot of regulars that have come that have been to almost every one of our film schools, but certainly get on board now and get your tickets to see Dr. Joe Fortunato Film School coming up on August 1st. All right, Joe, my friend, thanks. Great timing, and appreciate the time with us, Joe. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I look forward to it next week.
There you go. Dr. Joe Fortunato with us. 93.5, 1590 WAKR.